The following is a paid program by Gary C. Johnson, attorney at law. Welcome to Simply the Law, the program that gives you free legal information. Brought to you by the law office of Gary C. Johnson. Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt with my good friend Gary C. Johnson.
Good to be here.
You know, I'm glad you said that. It is good to be here. Gary, in the last couple of weeks, I think sometimes I'm a personal project for him, but you've actually been talking to me about being here. And a lot of times we say the words, it's good to be here, and I don't know, Gary, if we really understand the importance of those words.
What Keith is talking about, and again, before I do that, thank you folks for letting us come to visit with you, is something that I've learned over the years, and I think I'm going to share it with you. You are somewhere right now watching this program, wherever that may be. Every minute of your life, you're somewhere, right? We have to be. That's how life is. The question is, when you're somewhere, are you really there? Or are you somewhere else in your mind? And what I've found over the years, with family, with friends, with co-workers, whatever, that it has enriched, totally enriched my life for me by simply saying to myself, wherever I am, I'm going to be in that spot at that time and truly be there. And especially when you're talking about your family and the people that you love and that loves you, don't be somewhere else when you're with them. And I had this conversation with Keith, so he took it, I think, and has applied it. And Keith, would you share with us a little bit about what you found out?
You know, when Gary started telling me about this, I thought I was doing so good, you know, taking the 7-day vacation with the family, and then I realized I was on the phone. I might have had my golf clubs with me, other things. So when Gary talked about being there 100%, a couple of weeks ago I took my son to a Lego Fest. Now, for those of you that don't know what Legos are, they're the little bitty toys that you put together. And I decided that I'm going to try exactly what Gary said. I'm going to be there from the time I get in the car until the trip is over. It was only 2 days. We sang songs, we played in the car, we watched videos, we went to the Lego Fest. I spent 4 hours with my son, who's 8, my baby, my oldest one is 19. He was with us also. I made cars, we raced them. 4 hours in a Lego hall with 6,000 people making Legos. I was there the entire time. And what happened at the end of that trip, my son looked at me and said, I want you to know this is the best day of my life. My friend Gary Johnson was right. It was the best day of my life because I was actually engaged and I was there. And I was happy and I enjoyed myself and I had a great time.
So the lesson I want to pass on to you folks, which we try to give you a little bit every week, right, so that we maybe can, life is hard. Most of the time it is extremely difficult. And what we have to do is try to find some ways to make it easier to live this life we have. And I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, that if you learn to be where you are and not be somewhere else when you're there, the lives of not just you, your life won't just be enriched, but you will enrich the lives of everyone you love around you, because they know when you're there and they know when you're gone. And if you get in your mind and you leave, you have deprived them of that precious time that you've allotted for them, especially your children or grandchildren or your spouse. Don't grab that phone and be on it, and friends or whatever. When you're in a place, give it everything you've got to be there at that point in time. And I promise you, it will make you so much happier, and it will really make the people around you happy, especially the ones that love you. That's my saying to you this week, and I'll try to give you a little something every week from the trials and mistakes I've made over my lifetime. Because I didn't learn what I learned just by magic. It's from having made mistakes and trying to learn from them. So be there. If you're in a living room right now with your spouse or whatever, be with them. Be there. Be there for them. When you're somewhere else, if you're at work, be there. Don't say, I despise this job. I can't wait till 5 o'clock. I can't wait to get out of here. Because if you do, you're going to find that you're giving up a substantial part of your little dash you have to live to misery. Don't do it. Find something about that work that you can enjoy and make you feel better, and say, I'm going to be here. I'm going to give it everything I've got. I'm going to make every friend I can possibly make of every coworker. I am going to be on this job because I want to be happy. I don't want to be miserable. And if others around you choose to be miserable, don't react to them. Don't react to that. Remember, you've only got a short period of time in this world. The good Lord has allocated you a dash to live. Don't disappoint the good Lord by living that dash in misery. He didn't mean for you to do that. He meant for you to live the full joy of your life and to be joyous on this earth and enjoy all the blessings He's given you. And you can only do that if you learn to be there with the people around you when you are with them. And try it at work and see what I think you'll understand if you start applying this, how much richer your life can be and how much richer you can make the lives of those around you. And for God's sake, don't allocate some time to be with your kids and then be on the phone and be somewhere else. Shame on you if you do that. Shame. They need you, your children do. And they need you to be with them, and they need you to be there when you're with them. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk about what I'm supposed to be talking about tonight.
Well,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off on this, but it seems like every week we start off doing something.
I'm glad you did, because it works, and I will promise you, if you take Gary's advice and you just try it this week only, I promise you will be happier, and so will your family. We're going to be back to talk about the law, Simply the Law, with Gary C. Johnson right after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
My name is Dr. Robert Arts. I'm a professor of education and physics. The reason I like Pikeville College is because we all know each other. It's like we've said a lot of times before, no one's just a number. I'm very passionate about what I teach. I enjoy it. That comes through. I mean, if you walking around talking to a student, they can sense that you enjoy what you're doing. They're going to enjoy it as well because they can see that fun and excitement come out.
Experience excellence. Experience opportunity. Experience Pikeville College.
I was real happy going into the break. I was proud of myself for being there. Now I realize Gary's been preaching this stuff for me for 13 years. So obviously I wasn't paying too close of attention the other 13 years. Now I'm starting to pay attention. So if you failed, don't worry about it. You can always start over tomorrow.
Okay, folks. Again, thank you so much for letting us visit with you and be in your house, hanging out with you. We're going to get to the program here in a minute, and we're going to go to the computer in just a second. I'm at the office. We are here in the studio pre-recording this Tuesday, and if you need to call me, if any of you have been hurt, you've been in a wreck or anything, I'm there. I'm going to be there, okay? I'll be there. So let's go to the computer. There's the phone number. If any of you need it, you can also text us at 477-4002. There's the web page if you need to go to it. We're on Facebook. General, again, make sure you have your underinsurance that protects you and your family. Underinsurance. Arbitration. Never sign a document agreeing that any dispute will be settled by arbitration. You'll see those clauses in nursing home agreements, coal leases, hospital admissions, and so forth. Watch out for them. Watch for them like a hawk. Don't sign it. You have given up your right to ever have any hope of collecting if they mess over you. Now, here's some statistics, and these are old. I think these are 04 statistics. From the Institute of Medicine report said that this report found medical errors accounted for as many as 98,000 deaths a year at a cost of $29 billion in this country. Now think of that, 98,000 people a year die because of medical errors. And this was in 04, I bet you it's more than that now.
My goodness.
Okay? To err is to human. Building a safer health system. National Academy of Science. Now what do we mean by that? Here's the type of errors that happen in a hospital or a doctor's office. Wrong diagnosis. Failure to act on results of testing. Use of the wrong test or just not testing at all. Performance of operation or procedures. Doing it wrong. The wrong drug or the wrong drug dosage happens all the time in hospitals. Delay in responding to test results. This is the type of treatment errors you run into. Preventable errors. Failure to provide prescribed treatment. The failure to follow and monitor treatment. Other errors. The failure to communicate by healthcare providers. One doctor or nurse not telling the other one what they're doing.
Gary, when you've got all these things coming up here, I'm looking at this, and when a patient walks in, really it's a mystery, isn't it? I mean, the doctor's waiting on the information, the signs from the patient, the things that he needs to look for. There's tests to be run. Somebody once said it best, they do call it a practice. I mean, this is not perfect, is it?
No, and what this program is about, and you're going to see in a minute, is I'm going to talk to you about some common sense things that you can do to maybe help yourself to not have this happen, because it's happening every day. Everybody can put their heads in the sand and say it's not, but it's a fact it is. You don't know who's on drugs where or whatever, but you know you're at their mercy if you're sick. And there's all kinds of you that are watching right now that I guarantee you that know for a fact that things weren't done the way they should have been done in your care and treatment. It is a lot worse now than it was years ago. And I really think a lot of that has to do with businessmen getting into the medical business. With your HMOs, your big insurance companies, and things like that, I think that the system itself may be broke in that sense, because doctors can't just now treat you and send you a bill and get paid. It doesn't work that way anymore. The doctor may treat you, send the bill to an insurance company, and the insurance company may send them back $25 for the treatment, when the doctor's bill was $150. So what does the doctor have to do? He has to see 10 patients to get his $150. Where he normally would have maybe seen one to get it. It's the same way with hospitals and across the board. Big business has got into the medical field. Consequently, your doctor has no control anymore over the money that same way with Medicare and Medicaid. They set arbitrary means. on the amount of money that the doctors or hospitals are reimbursed for whatever the procedures are. So what happens is you end up with more procedures because people have to live. Now, this is just my opinion for whatever it's worth. My opinion. But I really think it's become not a healthcare for healthcare purposes, but it's become a big business, healthcare has. And that when you get in that healthcare system, you, in my opinion, you are at risk. And I want to talk to you in just a minute about some of the things that you need to do to try to protect yourself when you find yourself in this situation. And there are some things you can do to proactive to try to protect yourself and say, I'm taking responsibility to not let these things happen to me if I possibly can. Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Very important subject tonight. You might want to grab a pen and a piece of paper to write down some notes. More with Gary C. Johnson on Simply the Law right after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
I'm Paul Patton, president of Pikeville College. We're a small, comprehensive, liberal arts college that can give a student an outstanding education in a nurturing environment. We have a small campus, we have a small student body, but we have outstanding professors that can make the most of a college education. Those are some of the things that make Pikeville College a place for young people to grow into adulthood.
Experience excellence. Experience opportunity. Experience Pikeville College. We would like to include you.
You know, Gary, when I'm listening to you going into the break, I'm thinking about what you talk about on the rules of the road, how we have to wear a seatbelt, how we have to have a vehicle with airbags, we've got to obey the speed limit, we've got to drive defensively and always look out for ourselves. But when it comes to medical issues, we don't always do that, do we? I mean, we go in and we just, whatever.
The day has come and gone when you can put yourself in the hands of your medical providers and say, I know they are going to take care of me and do what's right. Now, that doesn't mean that 99% of the healthcare providers, they may be wonderful, and they probably are. But having practiced law all of these years and getting all the phone calls I get, that day's gone. I don't know why, but it is. And it's probably because the businessman has taken over and the big money's taken over, and the health care providers don't have the time or the resources provided to them to give you the care they need. Whatever the reason, the end result is the same. You have to be proactive. Let's go to the computer. Talk about medical errors. You must be active in your own health care. This is not an option. You must be that way. How can you help your doctor make the right diagnosis? This is important. List your medicines and tell him what they are when you go in. Make a notebook of your medical history. If you leave something out that's important, the doctor may not make the right diagnosis. Tell your doctor everything. Don't say, well, I'm ashamed of this, I'm not going to tell it. It may kill you, that being ashamed, because you may cause that doctor to make the wrong diagnosis. So tell them everything. Take all the tests the doctor recommends and follow all the instructions for the test exactly the way they are. This is important. Some people, a doctor will recommend a test and they don't go do it. That's foolish. There's a reason they're doing the test, and it's to rule out something or rule in something. Take someone to the doctor with you to help explain the problems and to help remember the doctor's instructions. If you're in the doctor's office and you're sick, you're not all there. Get you somebody to go with you. If you can, a family member or a friend or someone to go with you, because that's when you really need to be attentive. Insist on knowing the results of your test. Don't just assume someone's going to call you. Don't assume because you don't get a call that something's fine. They may have misplaced your test. It may not have even been done. the test that you're talking, that you needed done. Somebody may have messed it up. If you don't ask and insist to know the results of your testing, then it may get lost in the shuffle and you may end up being dead because of it or seriously injured. So know the results of your test.
Gary, is another factor in this also. I use the analogy of driving on the road. 30 years ago, we had a 2-lane road. Most families had 1 car. Now every family has 3 or 4 cars. We have 4 lanes. More people are traveling more than ever, thus more wrecks. Same thing with medical. 30 or 40 years ago, we didn't go to the doctor as much. We didn't have the medical facilities or the problems that we have. Is it simply a numbers game from usage?
I want to make a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I am a lawyer. Okay? So I am not going to give or make any effort to give anybody any medical advice. But what I can tell you is what I've seen over my 30-some years of practicing law in regard to what happens to people that end up on a lot of medicines, and it ain't good.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you might want to inquire into that a little further, but I am convinced that one of the problems with our healthcare system right now is the amount of medications that people are given. That's just my opinion from a layperson as a lawyer. I think that one medicine breeds another medicine, which breeds another medicine, which breeds another medicine. Now, there are certain medicines you have to take. You have to have your high blood pressure, there's no question about that. If you got cholesterol, there's no question about it. Diabetes, you have to have your medication. But talk to your doctor if you're taking about a lot of medicine and see if he can get you off of some of those. If he can't, but remember, listen to your doctor. Gary Johnson is not a doctor. Gary Johnson has just seen the results of what sometimes may be too much doctoring. Okay? And that's just my opinion, for whatever it's worth. Let's take our last break, and then we'll come back, and I'll go talk to you some more about this.
You know, he makes such a great point that if you can lose weight, lower your blood pressure or cholesterol or walk, and get off maybe just one medicine or 2, I think there is a great benefit for you. We'll be back to talk more with Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law continues after this. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson. We'll be back in just a moment.
My name is Dr. Robert Arts. I'm a professor of education and physics. The reason I like Pikeville College is because we all know each other. It's like we've said a lot of times before, no one's just a number. You know, I'm very passionate about what I teach. I enjoy it. That comes through. I mean, if you walking around talking to a student, they can sense that you enjoy what you're doing. They're going to enjoy it as well because they can see that fun and excitement come out.
Experience excellence. Experience opportunity. Experience Pikeville College.
We were talking during the break, and I said, I can't ever remember going to the doctor as a kid. I mean, Mom treated whatever it was wrong with you. My kids have been to the doctor a lot because my wife's a little bit overcautious, and you got to tell them what you said.
And I pointed out to him, I said, and thinking back on it, when I was a kid, that's the only time I was ever in a doctor's office when the horse kicked me in the head. You can see the result of that, right? That's the truth. I don't remember ever being at a doctor's office.
No.
Now that I think about it. We had a lot of turpentine.
Oh, castor oil?
Castor oil, all those things.
Yeah.
But
and Vicks Saf. Good Lord, let's don't forget Vicks Saf.
That's right. Turpentine was the cure-all. But we survived, and that was good, and I'm glad we did.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back to the computer. How do you help your doctor? Number one, you follow your doctor's advice. If he tells you to quit smoking, at least cut back.
At least.
Ask questions. If a doctor won't answer your questions, change doctors. It's just that simple. Hospitals. When you go in the hospital, oh, danger, danger, danger. They ought to have these flashing lights out there when you go in the hospital anymore, in my opinion. That's just my opinion now. Keep a family member with you. Make sure the family members knows your allergies. Ask them to work with the nurses to make sure you're getting the right medicines. Tell them to look at them to see what they're giving you, because sometimes they give the wrong stuff. Ask your family members to alert the nurses if a problem develops. Stuff happens anyway, no matter how hard you are and how hard you try. The good thing is, if you're now okay from having had it done to you, be grateful. I can't say it any other way. Be grateful. If you have a catastrophic injury because of what they did to you, if you're permanently injured because of what was done to you, you need to get your medical records as fast as you possibly can get them. The statute of limitations is 1 year, and in Kentucky this is absolute. There is no exception. 1 year. Now, what's that mean? If you don't get your information and get it together quickly, you will be ruined, because you have to have a doctor's opinion that there was negligence before the lawsuit can be filed, and that takes a long time to get. Contact a lawyer. If you're going to hire one, do it as quick as possible. At the expert review, you have to have an opinion from a doctor that there was malpractice before you can file your lawsuit. You cannot, if it happened to you, and it's really bad, you have to move quickly. Now, what do I mean by that? And I'm saying to you straight up that if you had a bad experience and you're okay today, I don't just be grateful and praise the Lord that you're fine, because you're not going to come out on trying to file a lawsuit. It costs too much money. If you have a catastrophic injury or you're permanently injured really bad from the medical negligence, you cannot wait. You have to move immediately to do something about it, because the statute is running. And when that year's gone, any hope of you ever doing anything to recover is gone. But like I say, the beauty of it is the human body is extremely resilient. And most people recover from medical negligence and go on with their lives and are fine. That's the only thing that saves us, in my opinion, right now, is because the body is so resilient. But sometimes it doesn't.
My friend, great advice tonight. As you drive defensively, you're going to have to treat your health that way and try to stay healthy and avoid as many medical procedures as you can. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for tuning in. We do really appreciate you being with us and allowing us to be with you. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. We look forward to seeing you next week right here on Simply the Law.